Next we have Jansen Burton, who's going to be doing our lessons learned from final and ADA inspections. So this is just the forward and back, and that's the laser pointer. Okay. But if you're gonna, you can't really use the laser if you're gonna.
I'm not.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Another wonderful workshop today. Got some big shoes to fill following up Rob. Thank you. Also big shoes to fill for my predecessor. I won't mention any names. I'm sure you know what his name is. This is Lessons Learned. And I won't be very long today. And I'm primarily going to focus on some numbers for final and ADA inspections and primarily guardrail. I do have a couple pictures, and I will let you know ahead of time. Some of this may be offensive. Not the first one. Someone provided me with these pictures, a couple of them, and this person may know exactly the slide that's coming next. These are all photos from either finals or other places throughout DelDot. Happy Monday. The next image was found on a final inspection project. It's also related, interestingly enough. No need to measure this guardrail. It's high enough. This one may, if I've got any animal lovers in the crowd, I apologize in advance. This one is especially for Omar Simpson. If you know him, he works with me. He loves snakes, so if you see him and you happen to have one, just let him take a look at it. Totally the opposite. Deathly terrified of snakes. And the last one is an image of someone you may know. It's not an image of their face. It's kind of from the back, if you will. Those of you that know this person know him. I'm not going to mention him by name. He knows who he is. Does anyone know the meaning of the word on the back of this jacket? Absolutely right. Rob, I don't know what you won, but you won something. Here's the definition. Swag, wherever you are, you know where you're at. Here's a couple things I'm going to go over, like I mentioned before, the final inspection and ADA data. The total amount of inspections for 2017, ADA inspections for 2017, and then I'm going to get into guardrail. Some of the typical installations, and this is going to be primarily for the inspectors. The hardware associated, and I'll follow it up with questions. Hopefully I won't use all my time. 2017, final inspections. These are the percentages by county. Oh, and they're not showing up. That's interesting. Wow. Where'd they go? Well, I can give you a total overall. For 2017, we did 142 total final inspections. The bar at the top represents Newcastle County, as shown on the legend. They were around 82 to 84. Kent County came in around 12 to 15, and Sussex County filled in the rest. It was like 32 to 34. 114, excuse me, I got them mixed up with the 88. Not showing up again. Broken down by county. These are the slices, the wedges, if you will. The numbers aren't coming up, but I'll bring up the total. 140 total ADA inspections. So do the math, 254 total reports, including ADA and finals. We'll get into guardrail installation. This is just some shots of some of the final inspections we've been on, specifically on Route 1. Hello, Evan in the back. We've got curb installations, guardrail height, variations within, transitions for variations in the height, guardrail end treatments, the hardware and components associated, and grading for approaches. And we'll go over some guardrail to barrier connections and the hardware associated. And primarily, I'm going to talk about some of the things that we've encountered that we need to just revisit to remind folks to be mindful of things to look out for. Curb installations and end treatments. This obviously came from the standard construction details, B2. A little blow up of the grading area. This is an example of something we saw in the field. We aren't supposed to have this in the grading section. Taper area. Note 4 from the detail provided. If curb is present, depress the curb to a maximum height of 2 inches within the limits of the end treatment and throughout the length of the taper grading. Now this is the typical curb installation detail sheet with some different applications for rural applications, median applications, and urban shoulder applications, and a blow up to give a little bit of detail for curb height 4 inches max for rural, same for medians, and up to 8 inches for urban. Now, a lot of that also depends on speed. Guardrail height, typically 31 inches, the newer style and installations. There are some installations where we've got 27s and others that are retrofit that we're working to replace, and some transition sections associated between all three. Just another shot from up north, one of our guardrail installation projects. We'll talk about transition sections here. This is the detail going from a 27-inch height to a 31-inch height. And I just want everybody to be aware, my inspectors to be aware that this is necessary when we do our new installations between 27 and retrofitting the application to 31-inch. End treatment and anchorage hardware. This is a hot button. This is on almost every guardrail installation for the final inspections we've done for the year. We've seen issues with guardrail and specifically these installations, specifically retaining tie straps. Now these aren't required on all installation, as some of the newer manufacturers utilize a plate on the side of the bearing plate so it doesn't rotate. This is the typical of something we would encounter. It's not secured with a retaining tie strap, and it appears to be loose as well. That's why it's rotated. And if you also notice, the orientation is also important for the installation for the system to operate properly. Again, the picture doesn't show that it's installed properly. Also from the standard details. The swage cable installation, also important. It needs to be taught, not because it doesn't know anything. This is an example of what we don't want to see. If this were to be impacted, it would not perform the way it's intended to. Potentially, we could be in some trouble if it was investigated properly. Type 1 end treatment, here's the detail. Taper grading, 10-to-1 or flatter at the approach. And that's so a vehicle, if it does impact it, doesn't flip or overturn in the impact. Type 2 end treatment, taper grading, same thing there, 10-to-1. Guardrail to barrier connections. Can anyone tell me what's missing in this photo? Correct. Thank you, Billy, that used to do the details. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. The answer to the question was the backer plate, anchor plate, whatever you want to call it, and basically the bolts go through the barrier wall and nuts secured on the back side of it. This is a guardrail to barrier connection for a type 131. Of course, there are different variations depending on the barrier wall that you're connecting to. We'll blow up the section that shows the plate. And also, they're called out for the legend, and this is also coming from the standard construction details. And note number 11 calls out the bearing plate, anchor plate, whatever jargon you want to use, it is required. And there was a recent installation that we saw, I won't say what job it was, or put anyone on the spot, but they did not secure these. They embedded them, didn't go through the barrier wall, which is not approved. They're supposed to go through and be secured. That's all I got. Does anyone have any questions? If you don't have, or if you did have any questions, someone recommended me to forward them on to Clayton Bedwell, because I'm not going to answer them. No questions, 0. Okay, great, thank you.